ready. Is everybody ready? We're going to dedicate today's SHIUR, which is Tu B'Shvat. Today's Tu B'Shvat. Happy Tu B'Shvat, everyone. Tu B'Shvat Igia, Chag HaIlanot. So it's a Chag. And we celebrate Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh. A human being is like a tree, which means that we consistently bear fruit. Odi Devam B'Seva, the chain in front of you, that no matter what, our goal is to remain vibrant, youthful, and productive, and also to benefit people with our sweetness. So the SHIUR we will dedicate L'Alias Nishmas, Mrs. Brown. What's your father's name?
Tzvi Hirsch Ben Leib.
Harag Tzvi Hirsch Ben Leib, student of Pressburg Yeshiva, did a doctorate in Vienna in what?
No, not a doctor. We went to Vienna, the University of Vienna.
University of Vienna, what did he study? You don't know. He studied at Leibniz. I'm sure that was probably a pretty big course in anyway. So we learned L'Alias Nishmato and Nisham Shavali.
Thank you.
Amen.
Yidin Yeshua. Okay, so today's Tu B'Shvat. What I wanted to do today with you was follow the steps of Bnei Israel between Kriyas Yamsuf and Matan Torah, which is this week. I just want to look at that middle period. Okay, some unusual events to see if there's some sort of continuity, message, theme that could arise from that particular time. So what's a word about Kriyas Yamsuf and the Shirat Hayam. The Shirat Hayam began as Yashir Moshe. The Gemara Sanhedrin says that is a reference to Tchias HaMesim. And in general, I think we said this last year when we learned that the Shira is very forward thinking because it has references to the third Beit HaMikdash. Tiviemo, V'kuteimu, V'hanachotecha, and Chazal tell us that Masher Ra'u Shivcha B'Kriyas Yamsuf is what a simple person, unlettered, I'll put it, the most unlettered person saw in terms of Nevuah of the future at Kriyas Yamsuf exceeded all of the other Nevi'im, including Yecheskel ben Buzi, who actually had the vision of the third Beis HaMikdash. So that means they had right, that's in Navi Yecheskel's Nevuah took place right before the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, and Hashem gave him the view for the future, and not beyond the second Beis HaMikdash, all the way into the future, and that's what apparently was even more intensified during Kriyas Yamsuf. So the question is, why does that have to do with Kriyas Yamsuf? What is this vision of Az Yashir Moshe, V'yeinu Te'tu Hanaflatecha? Why are we fast forwarding Klal Yisrael's future? So, on a simple level, what would you say? What's the reason why you might want to do that? Because the Tzias Mitzrayim is a model for all future redemptions. So when we say Az Yashir Moshe, just as Moshe sang at the moment of Yetziat Mitzrayim, so he will be with us to sing about the Geula Shlema. Okay, so that would be a simple answer. It's not one Geula, it's many Geulas. The defeat of Paro represents the defeat of each and every one of the empires that took away our Malchut. Because, we'll learn a little about this later, Klal Yisrael's destiny is to be the rulers of the world. Gee, that doesn't sound very good, politically correct, does it? But fortunately for the world, not unfortunately for the world, but fortunately for the world, it's true. In other words, everything you read in Elder Zion is correct. Yes, but not because, but the only problem is they know about it and we don't know about it. In other words, every Jew should read it. They have a joke that said that, two Jews were riding the subways in New York in the 30s, in the late 30s, and all this anti-Semitism was coming out of Germany, and they were reading about it in the Yiddish papers. So one day, a guy's riding the subway, and his friend has the German newspaper. He's reading the German newspaper, the propaganda, der Stürmer, from the Nazis. He says, "What are you doing? How could you do it?" He says, "When I read the Yiddish paper, I see that the Jews are zerbrochen, zerharget. When I read the German paper, Jews are ruling the world. They're the greatest in the world. They have all the money in the world." I'd rather read that paper. And like with any joke, there's a kernel of truth. Now this is very simple. Why? Because we are a model nation. We're not a nation that is meant to subjugate others or dominate others or take away their malchus. No. We are there as a role model to the nations. So Malchut Shlomo HaMelech becomes the paradigmal reality for Klal Yisrael, because that's when the Beis HaMikdash was built. And that's what we'll be davening for day and night and day, since time immemorial. Why? Because that's the ideal state of the world. That's where we're aiming for. That's what we want to happen. Well, what was going on then? Shlomo HaMelech was sitting in Shalayim on this incredible throne, which demonstrated his wisdom. It said that the day after Shlomo HaMelech davened for Chachmas, it says, in Malachim, he said, Hashem, I'm going to be king of the Jewish people. 2 Jews, 3 opinions. What a job. Now I've got millions of them. How am I going to survive this? You think about it. He wanted wisdom. He wanted wisdom. He said, I don't know. How am I going to survive this job?
Because he died very young.
Yeah, but he was young. He was like bar mitzvah when he became king.
Right.
He was davening. He says, Jewish people? No, tough guy, tough. In the days of David and Melech, Shaul was running after his father, and there was fights between terrible fights, and the fights with the Plishtim, and how do you sort out this mess? And David Melech did such a beautiful job laying the foundation. But now I've got to take it to the next level. I need help. And Hashem gave him incredible chachma that benefited the world. So everybody in the world used to come to hear Shlomo HaMelech teach them about how to live their lives. Not to learn about Torah and mitzvahs. That's our internal thing. Of course, he was involved in that as well. That was his job, to bring out a society of Torah and mitzvahs and to judge the people. He was the giant. He was the Bezdin. You know the story about the 2 mothers, right?
Right.
He sat in judgment, and his judgment won over the world voluntarily. So now you get a little bit of the taste. And Mr. Nachman says about this too. Mashiach will conquer the world, says Rabbi Nachman, without firing a single shot.
Without what?
Mashiach will conquer the world without firing a single shot. He will be so beloved by the Goyim that they'll just give him anything. And you know what he's going to ask for? Tiny little favor. It's called Bayit Shlishi. Third Beit HaMikdash. You mind? For you, Shlomo.
Why does he have to ask them? I don't understand that part.
Because he can't take it.
But they don't have bias.
They don't have hard bias?
Oh.
Tell me.
That was out for.
Well, it's the reality that it's moved, and that's one of the things we have to give tremendous credit for Donald Trump. Just to say that Yerushalayim belongs to the Jews is a massive step forward, because it includes our bias. But I'm talking about Bayit Shlishi. Even if Israel has sovereignty over our bias, which does, and America's fine with that, what happens the day, assuming we can, and first of all, you have to get through the halachic issues, which are not so simple, okay? Even if there would be you need the consensus of the door, what to do, to go down and put down the first brick for Har bias, what sort of conflict might ensue? What type of war? Nuclear war. You know? Who in the world will allow the third base? When you think about it, where else in the world does such a thing exist? Who cares about what happens well, I guess we care what happens in China. You got this place in China where everybody, they ate. My son told me gematria. He says that, what's the name of this virus? The corona? He says, corona is gematria, achal ever min achai.
What is that? Really?
Bat wings.
How do you know how to spell it in Hebrew correct?
They were eating things cut off from live animals.
At the Suda?
No.
This is
The Chinese.
They do this on
Yes.
an everyday basis or just one time?
No,
That's how
it
they
must
eat.
be
That's how they eat.
Hashem wouldn't
That's
bring
it.
a plague on an entire nation in the world if he weren't upset about something.
Oh, the plague came from China?
Oh, the plague is in China.
I thought from Corona, Jamaica.
I hear. No, Well, that's the Mets, and they're very sad also, but that's a different story. Baruch Atah.
Amen.
But it's
Hashem would
free
not,
will.
I mean, that's part of our belief also, that Hashem has put in with brilliant within his creation certain Mida Keneged Mida. And that's another huge theme of the Kriyas Yamsuf. Everything was specifically Mida Keneged Mida. So, Hashem will, nature of Hashem will react if man really deviates from basic decency, like in this case, Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. That's called basic decency. It's very hard to find in the world a country that really, really adheres to Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. America was really great at it for a while, and then they deteriorated. As we've said on numerous occasions, for 2 of the 7 mitzvos, and now I think a third one. The first 2 mitzvos that they became violators of was lo sirtzach, was abortion, because they were allowing abortions, which is a violation of lo sirtzach. Yeah, even though halacha will tell you that until a baby's born, it's really not a full human life. It's considered part of the mother, but there's still, according to Chaim Brisker, an Isser Ritzicha. In other words, you're not going to be put to death for performing an abortion, as if you killed another Jew with warning and with witnesses. You understand? You kill a Jew with warning and witnesses, there's a death penalty. There's no death penalty for performing an abortion, even a late-term abortion. After the baby crowns, however, there is. After the baby crowns. Once the majority of the head of the baby is born, or the majority of the baby, the baby is out, if it gets born in cesarean, then you don't want to kill it. But there certainly is a violation of it. Killing fetuses is the sirtzah after 40 days.
Trump wants to overturn them.
Yeah, so that's one. So I'm saying that these really, I think Trump is a correction for America and for the world, really, because people didn't even think twice about late partial birth abortions. That's not one of the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Okay, so that's number 1.
When they can tell the sex, so they aborted girls because who wants girls?
In China.
Oh, that's from China.
Oh, you mean, I'm sorry, that's why they're doing abortions, because they don't want boys?
They
They want girls.
girls.
Yeah.
At that time, they only allowed to have 1 child, so.
And that was that. And now the
Yeah.
mothers of the sons are going mad because they can't find the wives.
Well,
And the shit up crisis.
should have crisis in China. So the second mitzvah B'nai Noach was is arayos, illicit relationships, not only in terms of the hefker of znus, which is a given on a college campus, but in married life. In married life, numerous affairs, numerous things. I can tell you, I can't go into the details, but I have a case that I performed. I have a special training now that I'm working from the best marital therapists in the world, Jewish, of course. Names are Gottman, Gottman. Go online, you'll see. Very, very sophisticated program. Tools, exercises, trainings, 30 years of research in laboratories studying every move of couples, longitudinal studies. And then there's the supervisor, who's a top supervisor, and I'm training under him. And I said, I have a couple coming to me, but there was affairs on both sides, numerous. And he said to me the following comment. He says, yeah, nowadays that's what you're going to see in marriages. Fortunately, it's so, I think it's an anomaly. It's like, okay, usually couples come in because they're fighting 2 kugels, 1 kugel, the famous story. Make 1 Shabbos kugel for you, Shabbos, they're fighting over petty things. No, there's true violations of the inner sanctum of marriage. That's a violation of Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Kal v'chomer, same sex, and the world is off the rails in terms of not only same sex but changing sex. This is an open violation of Hashem's will. Hashem created a person with a certain anatomy, They don't have a mitzvah. They have no right to damage or distort the bodies. No, it's not clearly not Ratzon Hashem. So America went off the rails on these two mitzvahs. Seriously. Since Roe v. Wade, which was how many years ago? Already 40 years ago? More. Was it more than 40 years ago? It was in the 70s? Yeah.
It was a long time.
It's a long time. It's generations and generations. And then the third thing which is happening now in America is the breakdown of law, lawlessness, which began under Obama. If you remember all the black riots and civil unrest and people angry at the police and angry at this and the police angry at the people, beatings and riots, and then under Trump it went into the most august halls of power, the Congress, the Senate. You don't appreciate it, but I know, and even the House of Commons is pretty much free for all. But the House of Lords, can you imagine? What's going on in America is complete breakdown of faith in government. They see the government as corrupt, having agendas, forcing things. And there's more. There's actually a lot more, because one of the mitzvahs that Noah got was to have emunah in the system of Hashem's governance of the world in terms of the climate. It was promised by Hashem that there would be always 6 seasons. A season is a half a month, and the next month. So for example, 15th of Elul, like here, 15th of Shvat, all of Adar, and half of Nisan. Correct? This is what, right?
Yeah, you said
60 days.
6 seasons?
60 days.
Now you said 6 seasons?
There are 6 seasons. Every season is 2 months, but it's not 2 calendar months. It's 2 half months and a full month in the middle. And Hashem said, that's how the climate of the world will run. And there's a name for each one. This is Choref, this is Stav. In other words, there are not 4 seasons, there are 6 seasons based on the planting based on planting. Kayitz, Choref, Stav, fall. There's a lot of seasons. Hashem says, it's never going to change. And now, people are running around saying, we have 10 years to save the world. If we don't save the world now, with our, and we're going to implement these laws across the world. It's against the Torah. The Torah says that's not what's going on. Okay? Science. And so the breakdown of the Noahide code is dangerous for man. So therefore, in China, if there was another breakdown of Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach on top of everything else, then the world has certain corrective things that happen. This is one of them. Even, I'll say something controversial, even the AIDS crisis, which was so horrible, right? So many people died, so many people suffered, many Jews. It was corrective because people had to change their behaviors. And the way that they changed their behaviors had to be more in line with not violating, how should I say, the basic code of adultery. People had to modify their behavior. A lot of people changed their behaviors. And that was what the point was. You got to change your behavior. Okay. So now we get to Kriyas Yamsuf again. So Kriyas Yamsuf, forward thinking, third base of Migdash, and Mida Keneged Mida. And all these things are meant to do what? What is the point?
To prepare them to
What's that?
To prepare Bnei Israel
for Matan Torah. So now the question is, how is this a preparation for Matan Torah? Why is Mida Keneged Mida important? Everybody who hit a Jew that much got that much punishment. If it was worse, he got more punishment. He died slowly. The horses and the riders, Chazal say, went up together like a merry-go-round, which is impossible, because of course you're going to fall right off the horse. You're thrown off a horse, but they stuck together. Like the Egyptians were like horses. They were attached to the horses. Kivas sus para. And the susim are, as we've maybe spoken about, are the animals of lust and honor. Because horses are promiscuous, and also they have gaiva. They want to race. You cannot race a cow. You ever try to race a cow? Here, it's not going to move. Not happening. Try to race a donkey. Not happening. horses, they want to win, they want to compete, they like war. Those are the epitome of a Yetzer Hara. And I've said this on other occasions that we never find the avos associated with horses. They're here. And Avraham Avinu took his sus. What did he ride?
Donkey.
Not a donkey. Yaacov Avinu was a cowboy in Beis Lavan Ranch, right? No, there were no horses in the ranch of Lavan. Only what? Shepselah. Kosher animals. Except the chamor was the truck, was transportation, but it wasn't war.
And it's also.
Try to ride a donkey into war. Not happening.
But it's a pigeon.
Not going to make anybody afraid. What?
It's a pigeon.
Nice pigeons, a pigeon for a chamor. Oh, very nice. So it's like kind of like a set and a chamor are domestic animals. Yeah, it's interesting. They can be kind of traded for each other. That's a nice thought.
What about the camel?
Okay, so camels are very much part of the avos. They have one siman of kashrus.
Yeah. Split.
Okay, they do have a siman of kashrus.
Split.
Yeah, and of course that was the mode of transportation. You know, I guess the Arabs did have camel troops more, but you know, it's not the intimidating. It's not the intimidation of a horse. Horses were tanks. It's 600 rechev bachur. When you, so you know, I was thinking, Klal Yisrael was about 3 million people, and Paro took 600 horses. Excuse me, 600 horses for 3 million people. What's the big deal? They weren't horses; they were tanks. 600 rechev. Have a group of people and a tank. Imagine them. It's going to plow through. No, you only need 600 tanks for 600,000 people. That's one tank per 1,000 people. Yeah, a tank can counteract 1,000 people without weapons. Yeah, it's that fearsome. So the sus of Mitzrayim drowns in the Yam. Okay. Now, what happens immediately afterwards? Let's go to the immediately afterwards. So again, so far what we're saying is, we imagine logically that the period of starting with B'Av Zamsuf up until Matan Torah was a training program for Matan Torah. That's our thesis, right? That's our key. First training program, Aziz Moshe. Klal Yisrael has an incredible mission for the future that's going to benefit the world. They saw it. They could see the Bayit Shlishi. They could see the world in its ideal state. Why is that important? Because we have to know where we're going. When you're going to get the Torah, you're getting something that's not about your life only. It's not about your generation. It's your generation is touched by the Torah and therefore becomes immortal. More like you spoke about Pressburg. The Pressburg Yeshiva lives because it connected itself to Torah. It's alive. All those people are still alive. Auschwitz is alive, right? The Jews of Spain are alive. But I mean, there's nobody there. They're alive because when they were there in that time, in that space, they were sanctified by the Torah, which is above all of these things. And here we too. Here we too are experiencing that more and more. We're back in Eretz Yisrael. It's an incredible thing. So the first thing that Klal Yisrael needed was to know that it had a sense of mission and purpose. Number one. We have a purpose. We didn't just get out of Mitzrayim to buy lottery tickets and sit on the beach and sip pina coladas, which is what a lot of people do, including myself. I would be happy to do that. Right? We're out of Mitzrayim. Let's go. Let's go to a hotel. Let's chill out. We've been through a lot. You know, Pesach is coming. It was Pesach. We'll go to a Pesach program. We'll go to a post-Pesach program. You know, interesting speakers. Well, no, you have been entrusted to the mission that will save mankind and bring the world to its final tikkun. Wow. You're not just any old people. You can never look at yourself. A Jew can never look. If you want to be ready for Torah, you have to understand that what your life is much bigger than an ordinary human life. An ordinary human life has to adhere to the code of Noah. And then they'll live a proper life and they'll be rewarded for their goodness. But they're not meant to transform the world and to finish be a partner in God's creation of the ultimate perfect world. Okay, now, second thing, Mida Keneged Mida. They had to believe in Hashgacha Pratis. If you believe that God created the world and left it and could care less, which is what many of the ancient, philosophers felt, yeah, there's a God out there, he's a pretty great guy and created the world, we thank you very much, we'll take over from here. And there's certainly no judgment. The ancients said the reason why we want to be good is because we want to emulate God. Well, we also say we want to emulate God. Mahu rachum, mafata rachum. He's merciful, we want to be merciful. So they got that. He said, but they didn't have any obligation to do it. They just said it's a really nice thing to do. And if you do it, we'll give you all the kudos. And if you don't, so what? So what? But we can't afford that. We can't afford that. Our job is to understand that there is din v'cheshbon. Hashem is judging us, and not only is He judging us, He's going to give us precise, He's going to deal with us, mirror back to us exactly where we're holding. We get feedback. Isn't that amazing? We get feedback from Hashem. Hashem keeps telling us what's going on in our life if we can only listen. If you just think about what's going on in your life, what's happening to me, what's Hashem trying to tell me here? That's the level of emunah that Klal Yisrael has to be on. The Arush speaks about 3 levels of emunah. He says, the first level of emunah is Kol da'avad rachmana l'tav av. Everything that Hashem does is for the good. I think it's good. I don't see the good. I can't tell you. Looks pretty rotten to me. But I believe that everything Hashem does is for my good. That's a basic Jewish belief. That's an obligatory belief. Obligatory. But there's another level. The next level is Gam Zu Latova, right? So, if the first level is that there is a God, and the next level is that everything that God does is for the good, that He is running the world. Not that there just is a God, but Hashem runs the world very precisely, with a lot of cheshbon, with a perfect cheshbon, with a cheshbon that human beings couldn't even understand how perfect it is. And then the highest level is which is Gam Zu Latova. I'm recognizing that Hashem is in my life, guiding me, teaching me, and wants me to see the good in every situation, because Hashem is only good. In fact, the Hashem, Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev says that Makas Bechoros, Hashem did it Himself, right? And the other Makos were done what? With Moshe and Aaron, right? He said because in the other Makos, there was something that the Egyptians were being punished, but they still kind of had a chance to do tshuva, right? So in essence, Hashem was doing them a big favor, because they had such a hard time believing in Hashem and accepting the principles of Emunah and Hashgacha Pratis and reward and punishment. So when they got the Makos, Hashem was beating them up, but maybe they'll turn to the good, and many of them did. That was the Erev Rav that we spoke about, right? Tremendous amount of people said, okay, this is the God, I want to be with Him. Millions went to Chazal. Millions joined the Jewish people, just ran with them. But
How many were there?
it's a big machloka, it's a big debate how many there are. Some say incredible numbers. Hundreds and hundreds, millions of people. That's why I thought the Pshat is Vayar Paro Ki Barach Ha'am. He saw that the nation fled. Remember last week we said the Am is, according to the Baal Terem, is there. What does he care? No, Baruch Ha'am. Paro was empty. It was emptying out. Egypt was emptying out. He says, what did we do? Okay, it's one thing if Klal Yisrael gets up and leaves and we have Egypt. But by letting Klal Yisrael go, all of Egypt is following them. So what did we do? It was a bad move. You understand? Ki Baruch Ha'am. Well, I can't do that. I got to bring them all back. I'm going to lose my country. Ein melech below am. You can't be a king without a population.
Rabbi Schwartz, why did people who weren't Jewish follow them, and 4/5 of the people who were Jewish didn't?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. Who wants to try to answer that question?
What did you have?
Why would a Jew not
Jews
answer?
didn't.
Why would 80%, according to Chazal,
Kamushim.
Chamushimalu, one of the interpretations is that only 20% of the Jews made it out. The rest of them perished in Makas
Chosha.
Chosha. And that were busy burying them, that's why they didn't want the Egyptians to see it was a terrible Chil Hashem. Like you're saying, it's a terrible Chil Hashem. So why did that happen? Why did that happen? Think about it. Well,
I think people like, even if they're in a situation which is so difficult, but the security of knowing what really, that's what I said, as soon as things started going a little bit not so good, Nasa Rosh and Shuvim is prime.
exactly.
Because it was like, they knew where they were, that's the place.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about in a moment, but what about all those Jews? So they're Jews, and they're Jewish souls. They weren't ready for Matan Torah.
Will those souls come back?
Those souls, yeah, we're trying to redeem those souls. We want to redeem those souls. Whether we will, I mean, there are guarantees that the Jewish people do tshuva, but there's no guarantee that the Jews that we're talking about who will do tshuva is more than the 20%. But all the tzaddikim and the purpose of the Jewish people is no Jew shall left behind. Remember that song? But if you're not ready for the mission, then we don't take you now. We'll come back for you later. Okay, the Jews that left Mitzrayim were all capable of receiving the Torah, with two exceptions. Dasan and Avir. Right? And even they had incredible merit, Chazal say, of having their own Kriyas Yamsuf. Because they didn't leave. Because we're not leaving. We're Avdei Paro. They were logical. They were rational. They were
You mean they didn't go?
democratic socialists.
They didn't go?
What?
They didn't go to the Midbar?
They not initially, because they said, look, the welfare of the Jewish people is paramount. They presented themselves as tzaddikim gemurim. And on some level, there's a truth to it, because they worried about the Jewish people's welfare. And they constantly accused Moshe of what? Endangering the safety and welfare of the Jewish people. You're so radical, you're so militant, how dare you, you're putting us in a predicament with Paro, our whole life depends on Paro. Moshe, what are you doing? You messed up. And when Moshe runs away to Yisro, Paro wants to kill Moshe, because who? Because Dasan Aviram. So why did they tell? Well, because they're so evil and wicked. They said this Moshe is a danger to the Jewish people. Understand? This was not so simple. And they were known as serious nefesh for Klal Yisrael. They used to get beat up when there wasn't enough bricks. They would have been part of the Zakanim that would succeed Moshe. They were on that level because they really loved Klal Yisrael. They said, leave us alone. This is what's good for the Jews. Leave us here. At least we'll be alive. Oh, you're talking about, futures and Matan Torah, all kinds of great things. Yeah. Tachlis. How are we going to make a living? We got the Nile. The Nile's never going anywhere. We'll always have work.